Go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask for the attorney to give me a report out.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, members of the community. This afternoon, the City Council
Recording
met
in
at
progress.
4:30 and took up one item of anticipated litigation, received information from the legal counsel, and took no other action.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn that meeting. And then let's go ahead and call and order the next meeting, regular meeting. And can I
Recording
get a roll call,
stopped.
please?
Yes. Councilmember Little.
Here.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Councilmember Budge. Here. Mayor Pulapati is absent. Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Yes. Here.
Thank you.
All right, and can I go ahead, let's see, where are we at? Okay, can you please announce the meeting and recording playback schedule?
Yes, the meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council is recorded with closed captioning. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV Uverse cable systems. The recording will also be video streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay on Thursday, December 4th at 9 a.m. and Friday, December 5th at 6 p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can also be viewed on demand at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14 and on the city's website. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and call Sergio Robles up to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Sergio. Diaz, sorry. Robles, my bad.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which republic, which stands one nation under God, individual. Wow. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Jason Harper from the Rancho Cordova Athletics give us our invocation.
Thank you. God, we thank you for this time of gathering in this great city, and we don't see past the greatness of this city. But as our days unfold and we get bigger, we just ask for your favor to continue to rest upon us. I pray for the wisdom of this council. I pray for Mayor Siri as she's led this great year and she's carried such weight. We pray that that same mantle of leadership would pass to Mayor Gatewood. We ask for your favor in these moments, that there be compassion and civility amongst disagreements, and we'll give all this back to you because we know it belongs to you. We ask it in God's name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you very much. All right, on presentations by the Folsom Cordova Community Partnership, updates on their Family Resource Center and Job Center. Can I call on Elaine Holder and Doris Cortez for presentation?
I almost said good morning. It's not. Good afternoon. My name's Elaine Holder. I'm the Resource Development Director with Folsom Cordova Community Partnership. And I'm here today to give you an update on some of the programs that you are supporting and also give you some more information about who we are. Our Job X for Youth program, which is supported by the city, is an annual event that happens in March. And it is basically a job fair plus for youth. There's over 187 youth who were served last year, and they all got resume building services. They got interviewing skills. They got techniques on how to search for work. Some of them even were hired on the spot by like the Parks and Rec for the summer season. It was really a fantastic event. Lots of resumes trainings going on and lots of jobs happening for our youth here. And we thank the city for the support. On to the next program. Youth Rise. This one is a community development block grant provided by, of course, you guys, city. And this is 4 weeks camp in July. And the youth learn all kinds of things, everything from confidence building to resume designing. They participated in a program called Love Notes, which is a curriculum that really builds on youth and families and how they can connect to one another and stay connected. It was really a great event. We had lots of different support, not only from the city, but total service youth over the 3-week camp was 25 people. So it was a good success, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. Okay, so in addition to the programs that I just presented here, FCCP provides a wide variety of other wraparound services that support the whole family. This includes basic needs, home visitation, parenting classes, health adjacent services, community events like our quarterly baby shower, which we had 62 people at the last one. Our Harvest Festival is the annual event. We also have a job center that provides employment services to adults, youth, refugees, and people with disabilities. We serve more than 5,000 people a year. 5,000 people right here in Rancho Cordova we are serving. And earlier this year, we had a huge blow when the federal government cut the AmeriCorps program. We lost 7 employees. That's 20% of our staff. Huge negative impact on the families right here in Rancho Cordova. We lost 45 families from our home visitation program. Our parenting classes were either reduced or cut. The outreach services just stopped. We couldn't do them anymore. We couldn't fund them. The play care program closed. And we also lost language capacity due to the employees that we lost. So we couldn't serve as many people here in Rancho Cordova. This loss is valued at $450,000. I stand here before you tonight to ask you to help us to bridge this gap between the $450,000 that we need and the people that we are serving right here in Rancho Cordova. Do you guys have any questions? Oh, I forgot the last slide. It's the best one. Look, it's got cute families. These are families that we serve. Like I said, huge variety of people right here in Rancho Cordova. They're such lovely families, and we really need your help to bridge that gap, that $450,000.
So do you, you're looking for other partners to come alongside with us to help you pay for the, is that for people or for stuff?
Well, people are staff, right?
No, stuff.
Oh, I
Stuff.
thought you said stuff.
No,
Sorry.
people and staff, totally understand. Is that mostly salaries?
It's mostly salaries.
Okay,
Yeah. And yes, we are looking for other partners as well.
okay.
Yeah.
Joe, do you have something? You look, no? Okay, all right. Thank you for your, thank you for everything. You-
Thank you very much, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Elaine. I hope we can find a way to help you.
Thank you. Me too.
Okay. All right. Let me go back to reading my things. Public comment. Reading the following. The members of the public wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing submitted a speaker card to city clerk. For items on the agenda, speakers will be called by the vice mayor and a point on the agenda when the item will be heard. Speakers are encouraged to keep their comments 3 minutes or less and state the name of the community residents. Do we have any public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll start with general public comment, and I have 3 speaker cards. Larry Leroy Ladd, you'll be first. Following Larry will be Michael Harris and Luke Fuentes. Vice Mayor Gatewood, did you want 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes.
All right, here we go. Most important ones. Okay. Oh, turn it on, turn it up, whatever. As you all know, my name is Larry Leroy Ladd, and I'm one of the co-founders of this city. And I'd like to start with saying how thrilled I am to see this place packed. That's what American government is all about. Now, all right. And I dedicate my comments to my CIA professor, Nigel J.R. Allen, who always told me the Royal Marine Commando would disappear in the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan every summer for 20 years. He says, Always ground truth, Larry, always ground truth. So in trying to help out education in Rancho Cordova, I've always tried to focus on that. And so my latest thing that I hopefully will maybe into Soilborn Farms and other people is bird monitoring with AI. And the reason I picked birds is because the kids on the playground can ground truth, whether the AI identifies the bird correctly or what have you. But my title is, Can a Fifth Grader Make AI Hallucinate? And my suggestion is I have another toy here that's a Geiger counter. And on the basis of what I've tried out, this bird weather thing, I have a nest of house finches. So I have like 4,500 detections of a house finch, and then all the babies cheeping and all that. And one detection of a purple finch, which is very closely related and has a very similar call. So the question you would ask an elementary school kid, is that a false detection? Is that actually a house finch that just sounded like a purple finch because either it had too much coffee that morning and it was hyper, or it was making a joke about purple finches and they used a purple finch line? I don't know. But again, it's the kind of thing that kids can play around with on the elementary school level and reality test things. How much more time have I got? Oh, right there. Okay. So like, for example, sometimes it gives feedback that's dubious, but then you notice things. So like, it was picking up ravens in the Sun River neighborhood Rancho Cordova more than crows. I'm going, well, that can't be right. I don't think there are any ravens around here. But then when I went to Cordova High and lunch ended, there were ravens. They're going gronk, gronk, right? So I'm going like, wow. Otherwise I wouldn't even bother to notice that if it wasn't for this. So those are the kind of games you can play. And again, I'll talk with Mr. Harrison over at Soilborn, see if his birder's interested. But one avenue may be applying for you guys for a cookie grant this is $300. Now, people have this stuff on their phone, and the kids who love their phones can double check the local monitor. But it's all about reality testing the AI with a reality they can observe firsthand. And I now depart, looking forward to the proceedings this evening.
Next speaker is Michael Harris.
Greetings, y'all. Mayor,
I'm ready.
he's
Keep
preempting.
going.
Vice Mayor right now. It's a blessing to be here. It really is, and today is kind of special. It's the 70th anniversary of the day about this big, 5'4" butter pecan sister out of the bloodstained soil of Alabama. She changed America with an act of quiet defiance with her dignity. Rosa Parks kicked off the Montgomery bus boycott. Changed America in a good way. So tonight, maybe y'all might close in honor of Rosa Parks. Irish, Scottish, I forget which Native American tribe. Obviously, Macaulay was her maiden name. She's Irish woman, and some of y'all might know why she didn't get up that day. That Irish kicked in. But I come here tonight talking about first fruits of the harvest, Mutunda ya Kwanzaa. It's a celebration of ancient African harvest celebrations founded here in California, right down the street, 400 miles in LA after the Watts riots. At that time, his name was Everett. Today we know him as Dr. Malana Karenga. It's 59 years of Kwanzaa. This year he's finally retiring as the chair of Africana Studies at Long Beach. He's been teaching all those years, just an amazing scholar. But here in Sacramento, actually what's going to happen is, some of y'all know the Capitol has been shut down for a little while. One of our good friends put some paperwork together, and they're spending about $1 billion to remodel it. I don't know why there's overruns, always is. But the idea that this year is 27 years of doing Kwanzaa in the Capitol. So we're going to do Kwanzaa outside the Capitol, then we're coming here to City Hall and having probably one of the larger Kwanzaa celebrations in the region.
All right.
And, you know, every year, because it's the first day of Kwanzaa, most of the media is going to be there. But we're bringing that energy here to Rancho Cordova for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is it's the 175th anniversary of the state. And the history along this river arguably made it a state quicker because of the gold rush brought all these people here. So, you know, we're going to talk about that, the bounty of the agricultural here. And as I was sharing with City Manager Runner maybe about 2 weeks ago, 1844, this land was owned by the African founding father of California, Mr. Leidesdorf, and his farm manager had a very extensive ranch, 35,500 on her acre. And I haven't personally thanked Councilmember Budge, but the sign that we put up maybe 20 years ago burned down, and she helped put it back. But I have some flyers.
Please wrap up your comments.
My comments are over. Kwanzaa's for everybody. Anybody could come. You don't have to be black. Black folks do a deep dive, but this Kwanzaa, everybody can come.
There you go.
Luke Fuentes.
Good evening, good evening. This is crazy. My name is Luke Fuentes. I'm a student at Sac State University, a business major with an emphasis in marketing. I am, to keep it a buck with you all, here off of extra credit, but it seems like I came on an exciting night because this place is packed out. And I gotta say, I'm from Elk Grove. I live in Elk Grove. And I gotta say, you guys look good. It's a good looking group of people right here, right? Look, Elk Grove to shame, huh? All right, but besides that, I just want to say thank you to everyone for looking like you give a lot of concern and a lot of effort into this city, and I don't have the greatest political efficacy, but it piques my interest when I see so many people gathering together. So continue doing you, Rancho, all right? Thank you.
In addition to the three speakers that we just heard, we also received a public comment, a written public comment from Larry Ladd, and that's been distributed to the council. It's been placed on the website, and it is placed in the public comment binder in the back of the council chambers. Thank you.
And Nigel thanks you too.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to council reports. Joe?
Yeah, just two things. I met last week with the 50 Corridor Transportation Management Agency, talking about ways to bring some of their benefits and manpower to my neighborhood in Lincoln Village. And also, most importantly, we had our first annual Lincoln Village Turkey Drive. Thank you to Golden State Water for funding it. Managed to feed a lot of families with really big meals. And it was just a cool thing. That's it for me, though.
All right, excellent, thank you. Linda?
Well, I hope everyone had a very nice Thanksgiving and attended the craft fair here at City Hall and bought lots of cool Christmas crafts. And the tree lighting, we all froze last night, but it was absolutely delightful and went on for a very long time. And then I have to say that we had an excellent meeting with Metro Fire, and wonder of wonders, they're finally going to be able to do something about replacing Station 61 on Folsom Boulevard. And they expect to be able to hire an architect later next year. I did join Rotary, handing out books to the third graders at Navigator. It's probably been like 12 years we've been doing this, and it was absolutely delightful. You meet the most marvelous little kids. And then I joined Golden State Water again with in handing out another check to the food locker. And it was a multi-$1,000 check for them to provide Thanksgiving meals for everybody. And we tried to attend the Mills Rockets launching, but they were running really, really behind, and that didn't work. I will say I talked to city staff at the Christmas tree lighting last night, and they have published a marvelous graphic about all of the public works projects going on in Rancho Cordova. This is really very enlightening, and it's a great thing for Edgar and the team to do. And everybody should they should be on the internet for everybody. And then I think Mr. Fuentes will appreciate this. This is not a commercial for Costco, but marketing happens in very strange ways. And now we have our own puzzle here in Rancho Cordova, done by the gentleman who supplies all the puzzles at Christmas time for Costco. And so today in Costco, I found the most unexpected bottle of Rancho Cordova wine. Who would have known that there was a Rancho Cordova wine? So here we are. And this thing is impressive. It's embossed into the glass. This is not just a label stuck on. So tonight we'll find out if it's any good.
Well,
That would be my report.
that's good. That's good. At least we don't drink in council. All right. Once again, I want to say thank you to our partner, Golden State Water. I had the privilege of being able to work with River City Christian. They also delivered with the turkeys to some of our disadvantaged community. They generated about 17,000 pounds of food, and we're able to give it to all the citizens in need in our area. And they are an amazing group and a glad partnership of ours. And then, of course, I went to the fireworks show, and man, that was a lot of fireworks. I felt it was like longer. I was like, is it longer than the 4th of July? That's amazing. Rancho always does stuff big. And let's go ahead. Micah, what you got going on?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Not too much more than was reporting. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving holiday. Really enjoyed the celebration of the Christmas tree lighting and fireworks show. This week, we will be celebrating the Holiday Star event, giving away shopping sprees for over 100 students in Rancho Cordova. So we're looking forward to that on Wednesday. Other than that, that's all my update. Thank you.
That is literally my favorite event and one of the best things about being a council member. All right, let's go on to consent. Consent calendar items matter deemed routine and non-controversial by staff unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for an individual consideration. All items may be approved in one mention. Are there any items the council wishes to pull from the consent calendar?
No, but I think Stacy's got a public comment.
I do have a public comment for 16.2. Do you want to take it now?
That was my second part. Hold on. Joe, anything you want to pull? Okay. Ask city clerk if there are any public comment. Go ahead, related to this consent.
Yes, so 16.2, so we'll take the public comment and then we'll go through the calendar.
Okay.
Larry Leroy Ladd.
Not going to be much of a comment because I thought there was going to be a presentation that I might comment. So, looking forward to learning more about what that shift involves. That's it.
All right.
Okay, then I will move approval of our consent calendar, items 16.1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Councilmember Little.
Here.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Mayor Pulapati is absent. Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Consent public items for roll call. Consent public items of matter deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items may be approved in one motion. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing and go and ask if there's any public comment.
Yes, there is.
All right.
So we have a public comment from Eric Mott. Eric, you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Gatewood and council members. My name is Eric Mott. I live in the Vineyards community. I just wanted to comment and say thank you for moving forward with this ordinance change on using common sense on retrofitting buildings and the codes required for those retrofits. I'm glad to see that we're looking at the whole holistic picture of updating properties rather than just enforcing codes and more codes on people trying to to upgrade and update buildings. So thank you very much. I appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you very much. Any other?
That's all the public comment we have for,
Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And is there any items that the council wishes to pull?
I will move approval of item 17.1.
Only one. Roll call.
do we need a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm waiting for it's getting. Roll call.
Councilmember Little.
Yes.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Councilmember Sander is absent. Mayor Pulapati is absent. Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right. Does anyone need to use the bathroom before we get started? All right. Go ahead and read the subject, Stacy.
First, we need to go to public hearing. That's item 18.1.
Oh, did I miss one? Oh, I did. Oh, a public hearing item. There is no public hearing items. I don't have to say it.
You should. It's
But I
still
don't,
on-
it's not law.
it's on
There's
the
no
agenda.
public hearing items.
Thank you.
Moving on, Stacy, would you go ahead and read the the calendar item, please?
Yes. Review and approval of tolling and settlement agreement between the City of Rancho Cordova and TH Rancho Cordova LLC, also known as Trumark.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, City Council, David Kwong, your City Manager's Office, and also have Darcy Goulart here, our Community Development Director. I'm going to go through the applications in the last 6 years, the current status of the applications, and then what I'm going to do is go through the terms of the agreement before City Council, and then go into our recommendation. So to the extent that you can see the dates here, the original application here started about 6 years ago, a little bit over 6 years ago. And it was for a discretionary project for 245 units on the Cassis sites, which is actually in the Folsom Boulevard specific plan where the site is currently zoned residential mixed use. That density is allowed in the specific plan, specifically 6.1 dwelling units to the acre minimum to 40 dwelling units to maximum per acre on the specific plan. So they went through 6 submittals. You can see the final submittal was submitted on August 2021. And then what happened was about 2.5 years ago, I guess it would be 3 years ago now, they withdrew their discretionary application and applied for a SB 330 preliminary application, which is basically a by right type of application through new statutes under SB 330. And in June of that year, they basically submitted a formal application. We then went through a process between the city and Trumark on the, deeming the application complete and consistency review. You can see we started on August 23rd there. And then finally, we deemed it complete subsequently. To the extent that we've had correspondence in regard both the application completeness and consistency with the new statutes that were adopted, we basically concluded that process of our determination in June 23rd of this year. So what's before you 6 months later is a request for City Council to approve an agreement between the city and Trumark to pause basically any legal actions between the city and Trumark. And this is done through this tolling and settlement agreement. So in terms of the settlement agreement and tolling agreement itself, we are looking at a subsequent process for a reduced density alternative that looks at no more than 6 residential dwelling units to the acre for that site. The city would initiate a specific plan amendment to this Folsom Boulevard specific plan, which was originally adopted in 2006 and then amended by the city in 2013. The reason why, of course, is that because the minimum residential density is 6.1 units to the acre, and any kind of lower density project would not fit within the parameters of that range. And so that would require a specific plan amendment, and the city would initiate that. Corresponding to this specific plan amendment, we've heard over the years and we've asked for, and there will be a process where there will be a corresponding EIR or environmental impact report. So that's a discretionary public review process that ultimately goes through Planning Commission and City Council. Alongside the terms of the agreement is also looking at alternative housing inventory sites to replace the arena approved site that's currently on the 10 acres facing Folsom Boulevard of the CASA site. But I do want to stress, in terms of this agreement, there's no pre-commitment to legislative changes. Again, it's subject to Planning Commission and Council review, and I'll show that again later on. So what's going on is that we're going to be looking at issues that the community has brought up over the years, and we don't have a proposal before us yet, but to the extent that we're asking the applicant to eliminate a lot at the northeast corner of their property, expand the landscape buffer areas along the northern property line, which also allows for a smoother grade change without a tall retaining wall, providing a trail connection to Brodrie Drive, working cooperatively with the tribes to keep the lines of communication open with them, and also be respectful for any kind of tribal sensitivities, impact, and mitigations. We would be providing an on-site trailhead location that will allow the city to make a future trail connection along the property's western border as well, to keep in line with additional open space and trail amenities. Expanding the parks and open space on site by reducing density, and then also expanding the size of lots along the western property boundary. This would also include addressing hydrology in the EIR. So these would be additional comments that we would be providing to the developer, and is actually in their letter that they have submitted to us as well. So again, I wanted to stress the city's not pre-committed to taking any specific legislative actions with respect to the reduced project alternative. They would not pre-committed to make any land use updates necessary for the reduced project to be consistent with the city's planning documents. They would not be pre-committed to certifying an EIR or reduce project or amendments to the city land use documents, and or specifically take any actions with respect to the approval of the reduced project applications of future approvals. So in conclusion, in our recommendation, what we've seen is this agreement would provide collaboration and reduces our litigation risk. It supports a transparent, inclusive public planning process for a reduced density alternative. Again, this will be discretionary. Enables the preparation of an environmental impact report. And with that, our staff recommendation is to approve the tolling and settlement agreement. And also, I would ask if the city manager or city attorney has any additional comments they would like to provide.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I just want to reiterate, kind of from the conversation tonight, this is not approving any particular project. This is really buying time for additional conversation to have for the future potential alternative project that will be submitted or potentially will be submitted in the near future. So just wanted to reiterate that. And Adam, any other comments?
Sure. Just to try to put this in simple terms, tolling in this case means extending. It means that the developer has expressed and staff has expressed interest in their expression of possibly reducing the density of what they're proposing and making the other changes that David just talked about. What this tolling means is that the developer won't instead sue the city immediately or soon on a project that it may not ever process. So the current high-density project might end up going away and instead being replaced by a lower density project with the kind of attributes that you just heard talked about. So all the tolling agreement does is essentially says, that the developer isn't put in a situation of having to sue the city immediately to protect its current rights to do a project that it may not ever propose and process. So it's not a final settlement, it's not a final resolution of the matter, it's just a procedural way of letting the city take a look at this new project. And I would emphasize that in general, applicants have a right to force a city to process a building permit, to process a water heater permit, to process a development permit that they file with the city. That's absolutely different than the city saying it promises to approve it or deny it or do anything with it. And please take a look at their 3J of the agreement. Section 3J of the agreement is really important because it does lay that out very clearly. This is not a project approval. This doesn't pre-commit the city to any final action. And in fact, it does, as David emphasized also, get the city a very substantial environmental impact report that would accompany and be considered with this project. So those are, I hope that helps clarify and just put in simple, plain terms what the agreement is and is not.
All right, we're going to go on to public comment, just so everyone, and double checking, making sure everyone understands. We are not approving or disproving any project today because nothing's come before council. We're just allowing them to extend the time so that they can bring some stuff to us. So we're just making, you are going to get a test rate, it goes through our entire process, still got to go through planning commission, still has to come through us. So making sure everyone understands that we're not approving that project today, okay? So to make sure, we're going to go ahead and start public comment. Stacy, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
So before we start public comment, I just would like to remind everyone that we do have overflow for anybody who does want to have a seat. It is located adjacent to the council chambers in the American River Room. There are already a couple of dozen in that room. So if you find that you would like to sit down someplace, you are welcome to do that. There are a few seats still in front if anybody would like to find a seat. If you have a seat near you, would you like to raise your hand in case somebody in the back would like to sit down? I'd also, we have about 43 comment cards right now. And I'm going to ask the mayor if he wants to continue with the 3 minutes or if he would like to adjust the time.
Already said, I'm good with 3. Let's go.
Okay, so we'll do 3 minutes per comment. You'll be invited up front. I'm going to call a few at a time. And we're going to start with Sergio Diaz. Following Sergio will be Kathy Birch, Crystal Tobias, Michael Dack, and Sarah Culligan. Sergio.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Gatewood, Linda, council member, and Mr. Little, Michael Runner, and other staff here, and of course, the city attorney. I'm grateful for the June 23, 25 letter in which the city attorney and city staff provided invaluable input to resist what has been TrueMark's practice all along, to raise groundless allegations. In that 108-page letter, the city attorney cogently and categorically refuted their attorneys' unfounded allegations that the city's findings of inconsistency are arbitrary and capricious. That was an excellent letter. So today, I'm dismayed and saddened that notwithstanding the city's June 23 letter, the city council is contemplating approving a tolling and settlement agreement. Any TrueMark threatened lawsuit against the city, motivating city officials today to enter into a tolling agreement, would likely be dismissed summarily as frivolous and initiated in bad faith, for which damages could be assessed not against the city, but against TrueMark. Among the many numerous findings of project inconsistency enumerated in the said 100-page letter, none more important is that the Casas project proposes to build high-end homes in the lower 20-acre portion of the Casas parcel. So the city ordinance unequivocally provides that no homes are to be built in the floodway without a showing of exceptional hardship. Trumark has not shown that exceptional hardship because none exist. Similarly, state law prohibits the building of year-round dwellings that encroach on the Central Valley's designated floodway that encompass the lower 20 acres of the Casas property, including by the import of fill. The Casas property development is to be built by a limited liability company, presumably under the auspices of Trumark. When the project is built, the limited liability company will be dissolved, and all will have no further obligation or assets. Thus, when a catastrophic flooding occurs, homeowners of the Casas property and adjacent Rancho Cordova residents will not have this limited liability company to look to for financial redress for for loss of property and life. Furthermore, FEMA, under the current administration, and perhaps a trend that may continue,
Please
is
wrap up your
retreating.
comments.
Pardon me?
Please wrap up your comments.
Sure. Ultimately, the citizens of Rancho Cordova impacted by the flooding will be looking to the city for financial redress. It would be unwise to approve this project. This project is being built with the minimum investment from Trumark. Trumark will be the one going home with money in their pocket, and the city of Rancho Cordova citizens will be looking to the city to make them whole. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Birch, and I have lived in Tiffany West at the end of Sterling Park Drive for 37 years. The former Casas property currently owned by Trumark is rich in nature and historical significance and adjacent to my home. In 1988, when they had paper maps, remember that? Anyway, the paper maps showed these perimeter of the Casas property as designated greenbelt, and the neighbors and I were told that would never be built upon. The Nissen and Indians once lived on the Casas property, also across the river where Epia is located. There are verified areas of sacred land, Indian burial grounds on the Casas property. The Pony Express once traveled through the California Trail is still there. William Alexander Leidsdorf, one of the earliest biracial black landowners, owned and lived on the property, which extended down to Folsom Palladio area. Leidsdorf later co-founded San Francisco and is believed to have been the first black millionaire in the United States in the mid-1880s. Our California legislature designated Leidsdorf as the African founding father of California, as Michael talked about earlier. These facts should be celebrated and taught to future generations. The lower level of this property is a designated floodplain. Those of us who have lived there know that this area does flood, and the American River is a mighty force. The Central Valley Flood Board has ruled several times that no building should be allowed in the floodplain. It would be better to preserve this remaining jewel of the wild and scenic American River as an educational nature preserve with ways to share the history of the area. Some nonprofit entities are ready to purchase and preserve this land. Our Rancho Cordova City Council should not make things easier for Trumark to bend the rules and bully their way to forever erasing nature, history, and the diversity that could teach future generations about the past. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Crystal Tobias, and I am the president of the Sacramento Area Creeks Council. And I actually moved to Rancho Cordova when I was 5 years old, which was 62 years ago, and this building was not here at that time. I would like to comment that the city of Rancho Cordova's general plan does not allow fill in the floodplain to build homes. The city of Rancho Cordova general plan safety element provides a clear objective standard for flood protection, Action S.2.2.4, Quote, require every residential lot to have buildable area sufficient to accommodate a residence and associated structures outside the 100-year floodplain. Discourage the use of fill to create buildable area within the 100-year floodplain, except in extreme circumstances consistent with all other applicable policies and regulations, and after review to determine potential impacts on wildlife, habitat, and flooding on other parcels. The use of fill to create buildable area is not allowed unless 4 elements are met. Extreme circumstances, consistent with all other applicable policies and regulations, after review to determine potential impacts on wildlife, habitat, and after determining impacts of flooding on other parcels. The extreme circumstances requirement is not met, nor are the other 3. TrueMark's proposal fails to meet all 4 safety criteria. No extreme circumstances exist. A showing of extreme circumstances requires a clear demonstration from TrueMark that no reasonable alternative exists to placing a structure within the floodplain. Public safety and environmental protections are not compromised. Filling the floodplain is essential for an overriding public benefit or to mitigate a specific and unavoidable hardship. No extreme circumstances apply to TrueMark's for-profit development. There are available reasonable alternatives for TrueMark to modify its proposal to build on the upper tier of the property above the floodplain. Furthermore, there is no overriding public benefit of this plan. Finally, there is no unavoidable hardship to TrueMark requiring building in a flood-prone area, which that is. I strongly encourage the City Council to deny the tolling and settlement agreement or to modify it to adjust density housing for the residential mixed-use zoning only on the upper tier of the property that also preserves the recorded public easements and dedications. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Michael Dack. I was born in Sacramento on December 1st, 1949. Thank you. So if you do the math, I'm 76 years old today. I grew up in Carmichael and Loomis, went to school in Davis and Berkeley, and now I live in Rancho Cordova in Lincoln Village. In roughly 3/4 of a century, I've seen a lot of changes in this area, some for the better, some mixed, and some for the worse. Following decades of industrial degradation, the area of the American River at William B. Pond Park and downstream from Riverbend Park has changed tremendously for the better. This area is now the most scenic, wildlife-rich, and soul-renewing place on the lower American River. If we allow acres of river floodplain in this area to be buried under 10 feet or more of landfill, a major part of this invaluable treasure will be lost forever. Don't let that happen.
Next speaker is Sally Callaghan. Sally, are you here? Okay, if you could come forward, thank you. Following Sally will be Larry Leroy Ladd, Kathy DeVries, James Garcia, and Carl Salmonson.
Thank you for being politicians in this very difficult time. I am from Folsom, and I've only been in the area for about 5 years, but I've certainly come to appreciate the beauty of this area. I'm quoting, "The American River Parkway is known as the crown jewel of Sacramento. It is the only wild, scenic river corridor within an urban area in the United States, and as such, it is the nation's largest urban park." Since I have been going to numerous city and county meetings in this past year, I've been really kind of devastated. A lot of meetings with the levee development with the Army Corps of Engineers. Really happy that we have a holding on that with the courts. I was very involved with Coyote Creek, where over 3,000 mature oaks and habitat is going to be devastated. That's been approved. Hopefully we'll get some court limitation on that action also. Can only hope. And then there's the airport project that I just spent Saturday listening to a naturalist talk about how our birds in the entire world are going to be impacted by this airport project. That's clearly these projects were in the making years and years ago, but this is what I've been dealing with and many people here in this past year. There's more coming down because it's about money. I don't understand when people in your situation are looking at tax dollars, revenues for cities to survive. I don't understand how the complexity and the difficulty must impact you. I get an inkling of it, but I know it's a very difficult situation. However, when one looks at the balance of our limited habitat that currently is surviving versus money, taxes, I know what my answer is, and I certainly hope that you can look to the future of your children and our world as you think about this immediate little project. And I've just mentioned the other three that when you put them together, it's just devastating. Thank you for your consideration.
Larry Leroy Ladd again. When I first heard about this dispute of the Cassis property, I said, oh boy, that's going to be a humdinger. And right away, I'm going to be neutral. And that's the box I checked. So my interests are number one, and I told David Sander this, and I told Mr. Berry this when he walked me around on the property, floods. And the technical, if anything's constructed, looking over, and not because I'm an expert, just because I'm curious. And it kind of ties into larger climate stuff that I studied when I was younger. And the other thing is you will find my interest in helping to create this city is to make sure the debate is as honest and eloquent, and there's been a lot of eloquence here, as it can be. And sometimes going to pipe in on things that are like most people don't care about and are trivial. But Linda Budge knows, and Mr. Berry knows, I don't agree with them about the route of the Pony Express. And that's not going to be central to this issue. But that's what you'll see me doing, is if there's an argument and I think somebody's making a valid point, I will bring it up. But by and large, I'm like a lineman in a soccer match. I'm not playing the game. So good luck to you all.
Well, I'm grateful to be here and to have heard all of these stories and reasons why people are against the TrueMark construction. And I'll just leave it at that I am also against it for all the reasons mentioned so far. Thank you.
Hello, James Garcia, resident of Stone Creek. I too am opposed to this tolling in the settlement agreement with TrueMark for a number of reasons. I've already detailed it in a letter I sent in, but there's a lot of people that don't know all of the details. So I figured I'll go ahead and read some of it. The city's 2006 general plan and the Folsom Boulevard specific plan adopted in 2006, but the Folsom Boulevard was amended multiple times, including the last one was 2013. We're firmly in place before TrueMark submitted its initial, again, if you look on the planning site webpage, it says 198 units on the application versus the 245 that was provided in the slide. So a little bit of a discrepancy there. Regardless of that, it also takes that 10 acres were clearly designed with minimum of 24 units per acre. The standard applicant was obligated and understood prior to purchasing. They failed to do it because their initial one would have been 4.8 per acre. That's less than the 6.1. They don't even include the minimum. Then in the slide, if you take that, it's 5.97 units per acre. Again, under the 6.1 minimum category and excluding the whole idea of having high density homes there. Their subsequent application was 441 units proposed. Again, with substantially amount of it being in the 100-year floodplain, requiring a minimum of at least a conditional use permit, as laid out by our city attorney in a massive letter, which was refuting every single thing that they did. If they want to build, they need to follow the policies. There's multiple agencies that have also indicated you cannot have a sewer main line construction in a floodway, 100-year floodplain. Who's going to have a porta potty in these nice new homes? Not going to happen. So there's that. California Department of Fish and Wildlife, also habitat, erosion, everything you can have. It's just not worth it. This is a company that wants to come back with buyer's remorse at this point in time. They bought it. Now they're threatening legal action with SB 330, which does not override the fact that it's a floodplain. You cannot fill that in without a conditional use permit, which is, again, conditional, which means you have the authority to approve it or deny it, which means deny it right now, so they don't even have that chance. Buyer's remorse is bad. We do not need to put up with their nonsense. They are scum at this point. Don't pass this.
Carl Selmason. Following Carl will be Judy Shipman. Following Judy will be Paul Miller, Mark Baker, and Candace Hines.
Wow. Quite a turnout tonight. I'm going to go off script a little bit because there's a whole bunch of people here I wanted to recognize. Save the American River Association, American River Trees, Preserve the American River, Sacramento Area Creeks Council, River City Waterway Alliance, the Friends of Sailor Bar, the Sacramento Audubon Society. I don't know who else I missed. All these people live here because of this river. And that's why we're all here. That's the core of our community. So I'll move back a little bit. A couple of points on this tolling settlement. The timing, holy cow. I mean, I got this Wednesday of Thanksgiving week, and it's the Monday following. Here we are. There's a whole set of documents I'm reading all day. I'm appalled by the timing for us. You gave us no time to look at anything. It's stupid, and I'm disappointed. I really think we should have an extension. As I read the documents here, I look at a couple things. And I'll just say it's clear to me that those of us that have been commenting for 5 years or more haven't been listened to. The comments I see from TrueMark, community members expressed a desire to see more parkland, open space, larger lot sizes along the American River. No, my video's been up there since October 22nd, 2020, and our approach hasn't changed. We don't want to build on the floodplain. We would like that to remain on the river. Everything else, other than the easements, we'd like to maintain our public easements, but that's the core of our message. Nowhere have I seen that expressed in anything from anyone here. The floodway, everybody's talked about it. I've seen little recognition of the other entities that have, in my opinion, the final say here. I mean, state law prohibits building in a floodway. And there is an entity that oversees that, yet we're doing all these agreements and spending all this effort without getting a final decision from them. Why don't we ask them? Why don't we move that step forward in this process? The environmental impact report, 80% on the city. Isn't this the developer's responsibility to cover this? And within that report, I didn't see any recognition about doing traffic studies or impacts to the surrounding roadways and communities. Any recognition that we need to build stoplights or better egress and access to these places, better connectivity to our local neighborhoods. So those are kind of my key points. I understand this tolling settlement, and it makes sense on some levels in my mind for the city. I see why you've got to go here. But I wish we'd get a little extension so everybody can digest this a little bit, and that we'd better recognize what those of us that have been talking about for years,
Please wrap up your comments.
and I'll follow up with a letter so that they're documented. Thank you all.
Judy Shipman. Following Judy will be Paul Miller, Mark Baker, Candace Hines.
I think everybody has said everything that I feel. This shouldn't happen. I've ran this area for over 47 years. I'm 84, by the way. I guess I'm older than the other guy. I coached at Cordova High School, cross country, took my kids down there, ran that area. And I see nothing that said, this is private property, pass at your own risk. What is it? Isn't it eminent domain after all these years? Doesn't that stand? I know that I fought for something up in Auburn, and finally the guy had to give this private property to us runners because they ran it for so many years. And it had to be, it's signed, it says, pass at your own risk. Guy lost. Anyway, there's bobcats up there. I don't know if you know that. There's a family of 8 bobcats or swans that come into that area. I've ran all the way to, I don't know what it is, a pump or something back in there. But has anybody ever really went back on that property and taken all that trail system other than looking at it from the bike trail? Go back in there, walk it, look. That's all I ask. And thank you, you guys, everybody. Wonderful. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Gatewood and council members. My name is Paul Miller. I'm the president of the Sacramento Audubon Society. The American River is home to over 220 species of our wonderful wild birds. The Cassis property is part of that American River ecosystem. The Sacramento Audubon Society, we strongly oppose the proposed development. The property should remain a haven for nature and nature lovers. So my real focus here is in regards to the process. I have a background in planning, so I know how it works. But our society really believes, I mean, our mission is for conservation of birds and also to promote individuals getting out and seeing birds. Why? Because the birds want to be seen? No. Because it's therapeutic, extremely therapeutic to be out in nature. And so we really believe that agencies have a stewardship responsibility. And from a very early planning stage, from a general planning stage, this should have been identified as a piece of property, whether it was privately owned, that it should be looked at as a nature preserve. It should be handled in a very specific way. And from my understanding, it has not happened in that way. In closing, and this comment goes to the Trumark Corporation, and this comes more from my background in planning and probably from me, not as much from the society. Trumark, maybe you have missed an opportunity. You've developed 4,000 homes, mostly in California, which is a very environmentally sensitive, communities. If you could set aside a good portion of this property and make this community happy, what a marketing tool that could be in moving into other communities. So I challenge you to do that and not make this a profit or you're going to find a way to get this by the city. So anyway, I know you're listening. Try it out. Thank you much for your time.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Baker. Thank you for listening to us today. I'm a board officer with Sacramento Area Creeks Council and a founding member of River City Waterway Alliance. I oppose the tolling and settlement agreement with TrueMark. Releasing this agenda over a 4-day holiday weekend limits the public ability to review and respond. I strongly urge the city to grant an extension of time for public analysis. The public's concerns have been repeatedly mischaracterized. The issue is not density, it is the proposed filling of more than 20 acres of the American River's designated floodway. This fill would destroy critical parkway habitat and violate recorded public easements for hiking, riding, and connectivity established in 1987 and supported by SACOG plans. Building housing in the design floodplain poses a direct safety risk to current and future residents. The city's general plan explicitly prohibits residential construction in the floodway, and the city must uphold its own policies and protect public trust. The project's impact on the lower American River ecosystem is severe, threatening approximately 288 trees that provide habitat for more than 160 species. Preserving the Cassis property lower basin as open space is the only responsible option. It is also unacceptable that the city is offering a voluntary share of EIR costs after already funding the general plan and bicycle plan. This represents an inappropriate use of public funds and demonstrates clear favoritism towards the developer. The tolling and settlement agreement as written is a one-sided and does not serve the public interest. Stop the fill, protect the American River Parkway, public easements, and nearly 300 trees that form an irreplaceable habitat corridor. Thank you for considering this request and for upholding the city's responsibility to its residents, environment, and adopted planning documents. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Candace Hines. I'm an environmental scientist. I'm going to talk to you about how TrueMark's track record disqualifies it from preparing environmental documents. TrueMark's conduct on this property demonstrates complete unsuitability for environmental document preparation due to its repetitive violation of each of the following: grading without a permit, violations of tree ordinances, violations of its own biological assessments, violations of its own arborist reports, violation of its elderberry mitigation agreements with the city, providing incomplete and inaccurate reports. Despite having its own biological reports and published city ordinances, TrueMark has continuously degraded the environmental baseline prior to CEQA review. TrueMark cannot now be entrusted with preparing environmental documents for this new proposed project under a tolling and settlement agreement. I also want to add the work downstream in Contract 3B, which I'm involved with, is proposed because the Corps claims that those homes are at risk. If we had known then when those houses were built, what we know now, they would not have been built that close. Please don't allow this mistake to be repeated. We are smarter now. Please preserve what we have left of this precious, precious place, something that makes Rancho Cordova so special. Thank you.
Next speaker is Helen Whalen-Bashaw. Bob Collins. Following Bob will be Cassandra Lamb.
Ready? Yep. I'm Helen Whalen-Bashaw, and I speak a lot about the Cassis, or the TrueMark property. I oppose the approval of the tolling settlement, and the main reason I oppose it is before you come into an agreement, you have to determine what portion of that land is buildable. We hear 20 acres, but one study said 25 acres is in the floodway. And if that land gets taken out of the picture because they did the right thing and did the conditional use permit, it would solve a lot of the issues. We won't be fighting over 41 acres. We're going to be fighting over less than 15 acres of property to develop. And that's why I oppose this. Don't give them time to extend it, because everybody knows when you build on a floodway, somebody's at loss. You have 18 custom-built homes on an acre-plus lot that were established in 1973. You have the Rod Beaudry house, which is 2542 Rod Beaudry. It has an elevation at normal height, and it has a protected Sacramento Valley oak tree that's probably about 40 to 60 feet tall that sits on the lowest portion of that orchard. You can't build on a drip line of a protected tree. That tree's been threatened twice since I've known the different people threatening that tree. If the tree's gone, we don't have an issue. But you've got an issue with you can't raise the floodway. If you look at the Sacramento Bee in 1990s, I can't remember what it was, it showed the picture of the house on Meyer del Rio that had a root system holding up the patio. So what you have to do is say, we understand you can't control a river and a river eats land. I used to be able to walk into Riverbend Park from that orchard without waiters. Now you need waiters. I do believe the city needs to put on hold this agreement of the toll agreement and first get them to do the most important document needed is the continual use permit, because that will tell you whether you can build in a floodway. And once that takes the 25 acres out of the picture, maybe Trumark will be more willing to negotiate and maybe sell the land off, because they're not going to make their return. They knew the requirements of what we required. They knew the condition of the land. It was buyer beware. Don't buy a white elephant unless you want to paint it pink.
Bob Collins. Following Bob will be Cassandra Lamb, Frederick Beidenbeck, Jacqueline DeLue, Ken Green, Pete Spaldino.
Well, thanks for being here. I really treasure this moment because in my life in Sacramento, in 1956, I rode my bicycle down Watt Avenue to the American River. It was beautiful. Watt Avenue didn't cross the American River at that time. And I came back after I graduated from college to live in Sacramento and became a member of the Army Corps of Engineers, Sacramento District. I was a hydrologist, and they designated me SME, subject matter expert in hydrology. I have studied hydrology in 8 western states and the Central Valley and built models of all of them, considering snowmelt, rainfall, runoff, all the prospects, and I have modeled all the major floods. So I am going to cut this short. I did write a little thing, and I wrote here, conclusion. Based on my 43 years of experience in hydrology with Army Corps of Engineers, my ultimate knowledge of the American River watershed, and my review of available data and reports, I firmly believe that any proposed development on Cass's site floodplain is risky and unnecessary. The erosion risk alone, especially considering climate change and increased flood frequency, should warrant a thorough reconsideration of the portion of the proposed project in the floodplain. The American River does not need the design flood to cause erosion flows as low as 30,000 and 50,000 CFS. The channel capacity now is 115,000. They want FEMA, Corps of Engineers, Sacramento, the flood control area, want to increase the channel capacity from 115 to 160,000. Cass's property can receive water as low as 30,000 and 50,000. So there's been 4 or 5 floods that have flooded that property in his history. And if they want to fill it in, they do destroy some of the hydrologic aspects of that property and storing water and moving water downstream. So there's been 6 floods that have produced that, and most of them were within the last 30 years. So because of climate warming, you're getting larger floods, more flows. Matter of fact, future climate warming, the Weather Service that predicts these things, thinks that the 3-day volume will increase 130% over today.
Please wrap up your comments.
Oh, is it already done? Well, thank you. See, I took too long. But I do not believe in developing that for flood protection of anybody that might move there. It is unreasonable decision to make. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Cassandra Lamb. I live in Citrus Heights. So I drove down here, and there have been a lot of really smart people, a lot of really eloquent people who have spoken before me. And I thought about maybe I shouldn't say anything because they've all said it so much better than I could. But I think it's important for everybody's voice to be heard. So here I am. Development, arguably, is beneficial in many ways. And just because some, and perhaps even most, development is beneficial, it doesn't mean that all development is beneficial. And I would say specifically, development that is rushed, that ignores public comment and public wishes and needs and sustainability without allowing adequate time to evaluate all of the variables, the competing needs and interests, that kind of development is not beneficial. And so I ask the council to reject item 19.1 because it is rushed and it violates the general plan which prohibits residential building in the floodway, as we have heard many times tonight. And doing so would in turn not only destroy valuable nature, which is home, to a lot of adorable, cute little critters and butterflies and trees, which give us fresh air to breathe. It is also a preserve that serves the community and residents, not only with access to hiking and biking trails and educational opportunities, parents going out with their young children, elderly people having a place to walk around and get fresh air, or someone in the middle like me who also likes to go outside. It provides all of these things, and it provides protection against flooding. New houses built here would be at immediate risk of flooding and increase the flooding risk for the already existing houses in the area that the preserve protects. This does not create homes. It creates danger and weakens the community. This is a waste of public funds and is disrespectful to the hardworking residents and future residents of Rancho Cordova, whom you serve, and to those of us who like to visit Rancho Cordova and contribute to your economy and who drive down here because we like the river. Thank you.
Frederick?
Well, thank you all of you for your service. I appreciate that. My name is Frederick Rebecca. I've been a resident of Rancho Cordova for 42 years. And I'd like to just speak from my heart, because sometimes I think it's important to listen to your heart as well as the mind and all the facts. It's easy to get lost in the facts. When I first came to Rancho Cordova in 1982, my heart sang with joy to see the American River Parkway. And it filled me with joy to see that we had government entities with the wisdom to set aside this land for future generations. And I could ride my bicycle all the way from Rancho Cordova to Sac State and back and see virtually, I didn't see any development on the floodplain. And I marvel at how all the different government agencies protected this parkland and had the wisdom to do it, not just for my generation, but for all future generations. And this parkway is going to become more and more valuable for what I would call the parkway experience, where people can get away from the urbanization and go into the parkway and experience the rejuvenation of being in the parkway and have that parkway experience where you feel like you're away from the city and you're in nature. It's rejuvenating. It's spiritual. From here all the way down the lower river, American River, you have that parkway experience because you feel like you got away from it all. And when I go down Sunrise Boulevard, you have signs that say Rancho Cordova, the nature city. And so I thought you shared my sentiments on this. And so I get this notice just yesterday saying that you're having this hearing on a 4-day notice. And I thought, well, that doesn't jive with what's in my heart. That I think we should be acting from our hearts about what's right for this city. And I'm so moved emotionally from hearing other people testify about this. Because this is a terrible idea, and on so many fronts. It's bad for the wildlife, too. Where's their voice? How are they going to move from one part of the parkway to the other with housing on the floodplain? And the floodplain is just a terrible idea anyway. It does flood, as so many people have said before. And where I came from on the East Coast, the big city I grew up in, they didn't have any floodplain like this. We didn't have the courage of whoever set all that land aside, the parkway, to have protection from flooding and to have protection for the wildlife. And so we can have a parkway experience. And so I pray we have the wisdom to reject this and do what's the right thing for this Cassis property. So maybe Dr. Cassis himself would appreciate it. Who bought that land? I think I've heard that he intended to have that land for the parkway. So I encourage you to deny it.
Jacqueline DeLue. Following Jacqueline will be Ken Green. Pete, is it Spalding? Thank you. And Lisa Sanchez.
Good evening, everyone. This has just been amazing. Thank you, everybody, for saying everything I wanted to say. So my name is Jacqueline DeLue. I live across the river. Rancho was my first stop here in 1998, but I'm now on the other side of the river because I taught over there, and I've been a docent at the FEA Nature Center for 20 years. So I'm here for the children. I can't tell you how many times I've taken children down to the American River and they've said, "Oh, there's the ocean. Oh, look at the lake." And we just spend a lot of time just playing by the river. I want them to experience the joy, and just watching them makes me joyful. So please protect this property so the children in Rancho Cordova can enjoy the American River. Thank you.
Hi there, Ken Green. I live at the end of El Chorlito Drive, where it ends at El Sejo Circle. It's about 100 yards from, my house is about 100 yards from the kiosk at the entrance to Riverbend Park. less than 2/10 of a mile from the floodplain that's the subject of discussion here today. This afternoon, while I was kind of preparing my remarks, my daughter came running in the house saying, "Hey, Dad, there's eagles out there." And I went outside, and sure enough, there's 3 bald eagles flying above my house, about 200 feet up. I went inside, grabbed my camera, came out and took some pictures in case anybody wants to see them. They were there for about 5 minutes, and then they turned and took off and headed straight for the floodplain. Just to back that up, here's a picture I took just a few years ago of a bald eagle sitting on top of one of the evergreens out there in the floodplain above the river. I can make copies for you if you'd like. Garrett, you said something earlier today about how if TrueMark takes this to court, they're going to win. So I went back and I did a little bit of review here just the past hour. And everything I can find suggests that development restrictions on a floodplain do indeed constitute an objective standard that can be used as the basis to deny a development. Period. It's an objective standard. You can deny it on that basis alone. And because of that, you should say no to this tolling agreement tonight, and you should tell TrueMark you're denying their application completely. And if your lawyer is telling you something different, you need to get a new lawyer.
Good evening, council members, vice mayor, city manager. Thanks for all you do for Rancho Cordova. From the people that have spoken tonight, you have a passionate population that really cares about this city and cares about the Parkway. My name is Pete Spalding. I am a member of American River Trees. I live in Sacramento, adjacent to the American River Parkway. I'm not in the city of Rancho Cordova, but I'm directly adjacent to it and support the local economy. During the past year, in working with American River Trees and challenging the work by the Army Corps of Engineers on the Lower American River, I've really gotten familiar with the Central Valley Flood Protection Board and attended many of their meetings. And at almost all of those meetings, there's always people coming in with requests for encroachment permits along the different rivers that they're responsible for. And the Rancho Cordova Municipal Code requires developers to get all required state and federal permits prior to initiating work authorized and providing documentation of such permits to the floodplain. The major issue here is all the development in the floodplain. It's not density, it's building in a floodplain. So this provision requires developers to get Central Valley Flood Protection Board encroachment permits, whatever the density of the project, because they're in the floodplain, before the city can authorize development. The city cannot legally approve development plans until the Central Valley Flood Board has first determined whether the proposed encroachment permits are permissible. As several of the other speakers have said, don't build in a floodplain. You can't build in the floodplain. Not only does it put those homes at risk, but it puts the homes downriver at risk as well. In addition, the Central Valley Flood Board's jurisdiction is not just limited to physical construction. Title 23 requires the board approval for every proposal or plan of work within designated floodways, not just physical constructions. So the settlement agreement authorizing a new development application is precisely a proposal or a plan of work. So under Central Valley Flood Board regulations, this proposal requires board review before anything can proceed. And this is also confirmed by Title 23 of the California Code of Regulations. I think the developer needs to start talking to the Central Valley Flood Protection Board. That's one thing that they could be doing. It sure sounds like they haven't followed the regulations, and they really need to talk to them before the agreement is even considered. So please listen to all the comments tonight. You've got a passionate base of people that really love this community and love this city and want what's best for it. So please, let's keep the access, this part of the Parkway, this part of the American River habitat intact and stay out of the floodplain. Thank you.
I first want to thank Brenda Gustin, Mark Berry, and Carl Samonson with Preserve the American River for their work on this project. Thank you so much for bringing attention to this matter to all of us. My name is Lisa, and I'm a co-founder of River City Waterway Alliance, an all-volunteer group working so hard to restore the health and wellness of our local waterways. We have now removed over 3.45 million pounds of trash and debris in under 3 years, which means we are a dedicated bunch. We have received awards from Mayor McCarty, from the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office, ECOS, the SEC, and more. Seeing that the city of Rancho Cordova is entertaining the notion of the TrueMark development project that would build along the American River, I wanted to come and give my comment. Nature is finite. I oppose the tolling and settlement agreement with TrueMark. Please demand an extension of time or deny it altogether. Releasing this over the holiday weekend disadvantages us as the public, and please don't allow housing in the designated floodway. Stick to the general plan that is already established. The city's inconsistency determination was reasonable and correct, and the general plan prohibits fill in the floodplain, simple as that. To discourage the use of fill to create buildable areas within the 100-year floodplain is a no-no. No extreme circumstances apply to TrueMark's for-profit development. There are no overriding public benefits to this. There's no unavoidable hardship requiring construction in a flood-prone area. I am troubled that this development was filed under SB 330. Permit streamlining, limits public hearings, restricts local barriers are all things that would benefit the developers and not the city. Something intended for expediting builds to help the housing crisis seems to be used in this instance to circumvent proper protocols for this for-profit developer. How many of these units will actually fall under the low-income threshold? I'm also troubled with the willingness of the city to pay for part of the EIR. 80% is the city's portion and only 20% is the developer's. TrueMark should bear the burden of the cost for all things regarding this development. They're the ones gaining the profit from all of this. If this is truly about housing, there are many other locations that can fulfill the need of the developer and the public. Why not build somewhere else and still provide the necessary housing? Lastly, a reminder that building in a floodplain displaces the water to somewhere else downstream. Removing important and necessary flood zones is a recipe for literal disaster to everyone, but especially to those who will bear the flood burden of this project somewhere else. Everybody will pay a price from this project. Keep the Casas property lower basin and open space habitat with almost 300 amazing trees.
Please wrap up your comments.
Adjacent to the parkway as it is. It's natural and scenic. Please keep it that way. Thank you.
Next speaker will be David Ingram. Following David will be Patrick Saluri, Stephanie Christian, Steve Grabenhaber, Barbara Grabenhaber, Roger Orton.
Good evening. My name is David Ingram. I'm also a co-founder of River City Waterway Alliance. I just want to thank my colleague Lisa for a really exceptional job. She always prepares so well. It's hard to follow those footsteps. I spend 4 or 5 days a week in our creeks and rivers pulling debris out to save habitat, mainly right now salmon, endangered Chinook salmon that are trying to get up Steelhead Creek into the watersheds to spawn in Dry Creek. I was there Saturday with Lisa and other volunteers walking through Dry Creek, getting elated at the sight of one salmon. And then another, and we saw 7 salmon that day. Yeah, it was amazing. They're starting to come back, and the reason it is because humans are finally starting to realize that urban sprawl, encroachment upon the waterways, degradation of wetlands area, and the channeling of water where it's not supposed to be channeled is highly degrading to wildlife habitat. And as a society that's now knows the dangers of trying to funnel water through these narrow channels of levees that have been built up over a couple hundred years. And we're finally applying science, and we're removing dams, and we're removing levees and moving them farther back and allowing water to go where it's naturally supposed to go. I'm at a hearing right now on this little notice to talk about doing exactly what we're not supposed to be doing, what science says we have done wrong for 200 years. When I'm not in the creeks, I'm a litigation attorney. And one of the things that unscrupulous attorneys do is when they want to really jam somebody up, they serve them a motion the day before Thanksgiving. And what that tells me when that happened to me is that this attorney really doesn't care about me or the litigants. They're trying to gain a tactical advantage by using a holiday. So what does that tell me about how this process feels and respects these folks who still showed up? And that's only because there's a very organized group that got the word out. But that's not fair, but it says a lot to me about the community that still shows up despite what appears to be a disrespectful approach to this. And the tolling agreement was summarized inaccurately. I have actually prepared tolling agreements. It's usually a couple of paragraphs. We're not going to sue each other because we don't want to get into litigation too fast. This tolling agreement is 25 paragraphs and obligates the city to do all kinds of things that it doesn't even have to do, including paying substantial sums of money that TrueMark should be paying for. Call a spade a
Please wrap up
spade.
your comments.
Call a spade a spade. This is completely unfair, objectively unfair. And I don't even live near the Cassis property. The public deserves better.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Solori, and I represent the Tiffany Farms Homeowners Association. It's important to clarify a few mischaracterizations. Number one, this is not about density. So many people in this room have talked about this. It's not about density. And that's just TrueMark's way of absolutely creating a straw man position. This is about building in the floodplain. And the people here don't want to build in the floodplain for all the reasons explained by your learned counsel over here in a 106-page letter. So, and the tolling agreement is not just kicking the can down the road. Like my colleague just mentioned, it's creating a framework, a process that the city is committing to, which results in, the case law talks about this a lot, bureaucratic and financial momentum. And that's exactly what would happen here. The city's committing, sinking costs down the road, and what's going to happen a year from now when the final EIR comes up for certification? Is the city going to resist the pressure from TrueMark coming in and saying, well, you've already sunk $150,000 into this, and now we're also going to sue you because the tolling agreement is going to come up, right? So the better move, the more courageous move, is to just take that money, give it to your lawyers, and have them fight it out with TrueMark in court right now. And if you're not going to do that, I submitted earlier today 3 questions, which are really fundamental questions, which I think everybody in this room is entitled to hear the answers to. And number 1 is, the city deemed the TrueMark proposal inconsistent with its general plan because it was proposing to build in a floodplain. Now we see the city is proposing a city-initiated specific plan that does exactly the same thing. So everybody here in this room wants to know, how are those things reconciled? That's number 1. Number 2, assuming the city does go forward with this EIR, does anything in this tolling agreement, and again, I would really like to hear a direct answer from staff on this, does anything in the tolling agreement prohibit the city from including in the EIR a detailed analysis of a project alternative that does not allow residential development in the floodplain And does anything prohibit the city from actually approving that project alternative down the road? And I've got 10 seconds left. Number 3, who is hiring the EIR consultant? The city or TrueMark? Because that makes all the difference in the world. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Christensen. I live on the border of Rancho Cordova and Carmichael, and we've had our own battle down that way with the Save American trees, and it's been quite a battle. We've got them to postpone, and it's like over 700 trees that's going to be wiped out, all the vegetation, and so we haven't. When I saw this come up in just a couple days, and I saw another 300 trees that could be taken out. I object to housing being put in the floodplain. Over the years, I've lived here most of my life, and like that one gentleman said, if you've lived here long enough, you've seen mistakes, and you can't fix them. Once this area has been decimated, you can't get it back. So I object, and I would say that what's happening right now with this tolling, I would just cancel it. I would say no, not give them an inch. But anyway, like I said, we've had our own battle down there, and right now we're waiting to hear. We had an attorney, and we sued, so we're waiting to hear if they're going to modify it, and I hope we win, because we're trying to save that area. We've ridden up and down from Discovery Park all the way up to Folsom, and this really is the jewel of Sacramento, and I hate to see another 1,000 trees get destroyed because of a development. Anyway, thank you.
Steve Grabenauer? Thank you.
Thanks for having me. My name is Steve Grabenauer. I live here in Orangeville. This is really a risk management issue. Us humans tend to bite off more than we can chew. And when nature comes and rears its ugly head, and the weather, or high water, or floods, or the 200-year flood plan that was never supposed to happen, happens. So if this project were to go forward, building permits would have been submitted and approved, and the houses get ruined, and the homeowners go after the county or state or the city of Rancho Cordova asking for a redress, what have you. So it's a risk management issue. Do not build in the floodplains, period. Thank you.
After Barbara will be Roger Orton, Brenda Gustin, Joe O'Connor, Mark Berry.
Good evening, Council, Vice Mayor. I am here not to say much different from what the people have spoke before me. I'm humbled by the fantastic information and what's been, with the organizations and the residences that have been represented here. I've learned a lot. And it sounds to me like the whole property needs to be donated and dedicated to something like the My Do Center because of the history, Pony Express and all of the Indian stuff. I mean, wouldn't that be a fantastic thing to preserve heritage and to add to the parkway? But I do understand that the biggest pressing thing this evening is building in the floodplain. Y'all have a respectable responsibility and accountability for decision-making about this. And the accountability and responsibility is for the welfare of the people, nature, and the history of our area. My question when I came here tonight was, what allows for the interference and obstruction of a flood zone? And I have heard from these amazing presentations here tonight, that there is no allowance, whether it's city, whether it's state, whether it's federal, all the various environmental organizations. I personally enjoy the Parkway on a regular basis, mostly from the water, and so I see this area. I call that the Miami Vice House because that's what it looks like with the big, it's pink and the big palm trees and everything. So I've observed this area for 25 years, and and even 10 years prior to that. So I have seen deer. I have seen, as of late, there's swans that go in and out of the wetlands there. And this eagle loves to fish and eat in that area, right there on the wetlands. He sits there and tears apart his meat, and then he brings it back to where I've heard is an eagle's nest somewhere on the back part of that property away from the river. So there's plenty of deer and everything there. If we even have to go there because the nature isn't enough of a reason and the people's welfare and enjoyment of the Parkway isn't enough of a reason, if we even have to go there, as my husband said, the risk management, the risk for the homes that are already there and for the infrastructure that's there, if it's going to be disturbed by some, engineers who think they can do something better. I always thought that you were, and then for any houses that were there. Can you imagine? We're raising our family where there used to be a floodplain.
Please wrap up your comments.
Yes, thank you. I am about to. I've seen, so anyway, you have to be accountable for when you change a natural runoff, a natural waterway, and when you create runoff, new runoff from your property, which is going to end up destroying and polluting the river. So to me, this is, I've heard impact mitigation. Those are oxymorons. The best mitigation and the most courageous decision is to deny. Thank you so much.
My name is Roger Orton, and I've been in the Sacramento area almost 50 years. There's a long time ago, I used to fly over the area. I was an Air Force pilot and served there and ended up here at Nather. And I was one of those where you say there was California dreaming. I wanted to come and live in California. And I remember my wife and I, when we first got married, on our honeymoon, we went into down to Los Angeles area, and we were so impressed when we hit the area that all the roads were nice. I mean, every road. We did not drive on a place where there were rotten roads. And I hate to say that's not quite that way now. Now, what we did is we drove up the Interstate 5, and we ended up going across the causeway. And we saw on both sides of the causeway, there was just all these farming places where people were farmed. And then a while later in the year, we drove out there, and all it was a big lake. And I says, what happened here? Well, I started talking to people, and they were saying about how that California originally was, Sacramento was a river city, and how they had raised the level of the city, and how they had changed and had a place for the water to go. So I thought, that is very smart. That's a good idea. So what I did was, when we bought our piece of property, and where I live is right adjacent to this Trumark property in Tiffany Farms home area. And I remember one time when they had a flood, and I started thinking, gosh, am I going to get it?
Well, I went out in the back, and the area that they're going to propose was literally a lake with trees sticking up out of it. And I looked at that and I said, boy, am I thankful that something like that happened. Because we went to the back of our property, and the water was within 2 inches of coming and flooding our property. And if it would have flooded the whole Tiffany Farms area. So I just wanted to put a kind of a face on that we're concerned if it floods, if they change this and it floods, guess who's going to get it? Thank you.
Brenda Gustin. Following Brenda will be Joe O'Connor, Mark Berry, and Alan Rhodes.
Stacy, can I use this?
Maybe. Can you put it up on the projector?
Good evening, Brenda Gustin, native of Sacramento. Thank you for your service. Hundreds of emails have been sent to city staff here applauding the city for staying true to the general plan by communicating to TrueMark in both 2024 and 2025 that their project proposal is inconsistent with the general plan. TrueMark's threat to sue the city with this tolling and settlement agreement benefits only the developer. TrueMark purchased this land in December 2021, knowing fully that the floodway was designated as unbuildable. Had they followed the city's general and specific plans, they could have provided housing and added value to Rancho Cordova by now. Instead, they continue to waste city personnel and stakeholders' time and money. As evidence in this evening's presentation, the city and TrueMark have completely misstated community stakeholders. Stakeholders have not stated that the existing project is too dense nor desired larger lot sizes along the river. Instead, over 5,000 community stakeholders have signed a petition to stop TrueMark from paving over 20 acres in the floodway and preserve this historic walnut orchard, this is verbatim, that is critical to the parkway's wildlife. I insist that the city of Rancho Cordova require TrueMark to preserve the lower 20-acre floodway portion of this property and reject the TrueMark plan as proposed. We learn now that the city staff has been working with TrueMark representatives over the past few months and created a presentation dated September 23rd. 2025. We didn't see this tonight. It's difficult for me to understand why the public and this city council are not being provided full disclosure of the site plans, flood conditions, and options discussed in previous meetings. And the city is now covering costs to amend a specific plan and then still may be sued by TrueMark if they don't get their way. This agreement allows TrueMark to oversee impacts to biology, hydrology, cultural resources, and air quality. They have not proven to be good stewards of the land. Instead, their illegal disking multiple times, destroying the environmental baseline of the property, and their consistent destruction of protected elderberry plants evidence their inability to lead consultants in their review and preparation of the EIR. So, I urge the board to oppose the current tolling and settlement agreement and stay firm with your decision. Please support your residents and please support this land. Thank you.
Oh, my name's Joe O'Connor, and I'm here to oppose development on the lower bench of the Casas property, and I'm going to give you 2 reasons. Just a little bit of background for myself. The last 16, 17 years, I've been a member of the Bank Protection Working Group, working with the Corps of Engineers, looking at flood protection and parkway protection on the Lower American River. So I'm kind of familiar with the river. The 2 reasons are, number one, the property's better use as part of the American River Parkway, and number 2, developing there is just a bad idea. It's been a de facto part of the parkway already for many years. The habitat's there, the wildlife's there, the environment has existed for all these many years, and the people also prefer it be part of the parkway. Now, regarding a bad idea, well, it's in a floodplain. And the soil it's built on is soil that over these last 150 years is just sediment that has been washed down from gold mining, hydraulic mining, gravel mining in and around the American River. So it's very permeable, and you can walk on it, you can go out and look at it, and you can see it's rather powdery when it's dry. Regarding putting, bringing in soil and stacking soil on top of it, well, I'm sure it's going to be packed, but it takes many years to really fully settle and pack soil. Now, the soil, as I said, it's sediment, it's very erodible, and the Folsom Dam, as it currently stands, is capable of releasing 160,000 cubic feet per second down the American River. If you remember the 1986 flood, well, 160,000 cubic feet per second is a lot more than that. With regards to the soil itself and building on it, it takes many years to fully settle. Over a period of time, it's going to undermine foundations. It'll cause concrete slabs to crack. It takes a long time to settle. So it's bad for foundation, housing foundation and all that. So for those 2 reasons I'm giving you, I could give you more.
Please wrap up your comments.
Yes, I am. Number 1, it's better used as a parkway. 2, it's a bad idea to build housing there.
Good evening. I'm here as president of the Tiffany Farms Homeowners Association. You know, tonight the assistant city manager says that the city does not have a project from TrueMark, but actually they do, according to the Public Records Act disclosure documents we've received. These plans, or preliminary plans, show building in the floodplain, and say that these plans accommodate the very same public concerns raised by the assistant public manager tonight. Well, these were not the public concerns, as you can tell very evidently from what's been said before. The general plan safety standards establishes a clear standard. Discourage the use of fill to create buildable areas within the floodplain except in extreme circumstances. No extreme circumstances exist. A finding of extreme circumstances requires a clear demonstration that no reasonable alternative exists, public safety and environmental protections are not compromised, and filling the floodplain is essential for an overriding public benefit. None of these conditions apply here. The TrueMark proposal is a for-profit residential development project. Reasonable alternatives exist. specifically development on the upper tier of the property. Any settlement agreement should be modified and limited to this upper tier area for density review. The settlement agreement creates unnecessary legal exposure. There is no justification for the city to increase its legal exposure by executing this agreement as proposed. The agreement opens the door to further consideration of development that is already prohibited under the general plan and city ordinances. Approving this agreement exposes the city to litigation if it fails to comply with the TrueMark expectations regarding development in the city's own plans. It also wastes public resources by continuing to engage the city staff and funds on a project that cannot lawfully proceed as proposed. Government Code Section 65302G5 explicitly requires the city consult with the Central Valley Flood Protection Board regarding development in flood-prone areas. It states that prior to revising its safety elements, each city shall consult with the board. This must be done before the city engages in agreements and before the city incurs expenses, public expenses, that change the general plan and safety elements which the citizens actually have already paid for.
Please wrap up your comments.
Reasonable alternatives exist for density consideration on the upper tier. We respectfully request that you modify the agreement for these types of considerations for density. Thank you.
Yes. The next speakers will be Alan Rhodes. Following Alan will be Deanna Sykes, Marcella Yeager, Warren Truitt, and Barbara Dougal.
Everybody's spoken so eloquently, I don't know that I can add a whole lot to it. My name's Alan Rhodes. I'm a resident of Fair Oaks, and I'm here to talk about the trees and the environment and the master plan that this city has put together. The Cassis Orchard contains 288 trees, which are an integral part of the habitat of some 160 species, diverse species. These trees are not just individual homes for birds and small animals. They act together, constituting a shaded and protected environment that effectively integrates with the parkway shoreline and alters the local climate directly by shading the land. The city master plan has some lofty goals. It states that Rancho Cordova aspires to, quote, become a leader in natural resource conservation, managing natural resources to ensure long-term sustainability, unquote. The plan aims to, quote, encourage the preservation of high-quality trees, unquote, and to, quote, protect and preserve diverse wildlife and plant habitats, unquote. So what about the Cassis property? Is the city following its own plan to preserve those trees? What will become of the birds and animals whose habitat will be lost? Is the city following its own master plan to protect and preserve habitats? Is the city acting like a leader in natural resource conservation? Not if this tolling and settlement agreement stands. It's time to have some courage and just reject this thing. Thank you.
Good evening. We are still here. My name's Deanna Sykes. I and my family live in Tiffany West. We haven't been here as long as some of the folks, but like most of those folks, the expectation we were told when we bought the house that that lower basin couldn't be developed because it was a floodplain. And I might be a little simple, but I'm kind of confused about why that's still a conversation. It's a floodplain. It's a floodplain for a reason, right? Okay. So Mainly, I'm going to be quick. I want to register my concurrence with all of the folks who've already spoken, who have a lot more information than I do and a much more in-depth understanding, I think, of some of the processes. But I also oppose the tolling and settlement agreement. It does seem like the city, and when we talk about the city spending money, what I hear is dollar signs, coming out of my wallet, because the city doesn't have money, right? The city is spending tax dollars. So spending tax dollars to facilitate the profits of a company that has already shown itself multiple times to not really have our interests at heart, that doesn't make sense to me. So kicking the can about, we won't sue you, you won't sue us, whatever, maybe that makes sense, but maybe it makes more sense to take that money that you're thinking about agreeing to spend on something else and putting it towards your lawyers to fight this, because that June letter that Sergio was talking about, I read that too. I'm not a lawyer, and I was applauding the city's response. It was a good response. It should be defended. And you know what? If there's extra money, how about let's put it towards something that benefits the residents of Rancho Cordova. Let's make that place into the preserve that it really is, that it should be, a protected preserve.
Next speaker is Marcella Yeager. Following Marcella will be Warren Truitt, Barbara Dougal, Randy Smith.
Hi, I'm Marcella Yeager from Folsom. Definitely appreciate all of the words, all the eloquent speeches before me. I thoroughly enjoy the Parkway. There's so much more than just trees and animals and green space. There's a renewing quality to the area. If you're lucky enough to live by it, that's awesome, but people like me can come and use it. I am very appreciative of all the insight that you all have given. What I gather from tonight is that TrueMark is a bully threatening a lawsuit, threatening to sue the city because they want their way, and we're kind of entertaining that that's okay, even though it sounds like we've got every answer to any of their questions. I mean, you bought a piece of land that has flood property. You know that you can't build in a floodplain. So when you buy that piece of property, you just know that that section I can't build in. You can't come back later and say, oh, well, yes, we can, and we're going to sue you if we can't. And we're going to make you pay for the environmental impact report too. And by the way, I don't do environmental impact reports, but I can tell you right now, I can save you a lot of money. The environmental impact will be negative. Jokes aside, when someone threw out the $150,000 or whatever for an environmental impact report, and the great city of Rancho Cordova, paying for the majority of that seems crazy to me. And I agree with whoever said, let's pay the lawyers for the fight that is required, because obviously everybody's put in a lot of information about why this is a bad idea, whether it's for the sake of the trees, the animals, the plants, the damage to the river, the floodplain, or the importance of having that available. But when it comes down to it, we've got to stand up and say, hey, you can't just bully us with the threat of a suit. We already have all the ammunition to shoot that down. And so just say no. and don't drag it on even further, which increases the costs for everyone.
Please wrap up your comments.
That's about it. Thank you all for listening and being here so late. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members and staff. I'm Warren Truitt, President of Save the American Rivers Association, best known as SARA. SARA's mission is to serve as guardians of the Lower American River and Parkway since 1961. While others are speaking to tech and legal issues this evening, I wish to provide some background regarding this incredible asset available to the whole community. SARA was founded in 1961, specifically to rally the elected officials and citizens of Sacramento County to create a parkway along the Lower American River to provide open space, wildlife viewing, various recreational activities including cycling, hiking, paddling, running, swimming, and fishing, plus picnicking by the greater public, not just the few wealthy landowners who sought to build homes right along the river. In 1972, Sacramento County sponsored a ballot measure for a $12,500,000 bond issue to purchase the first 4,000 acres of what is now the American River Parkway, plus initial funding for the Jedediah Smith paved bike ped trail, and purchase land for Gibson Ranch and Elk Grove Park, both approximately 350 acres each. The bond issue passed by 70+% of the vote. The Lower American River is the only state and federally designated wild and scenic river in the U.S. running through a major metropolitan area. There are an estimated 8 million visits per year to the parkway annually, more than Yosemite. In 2006, the Dangerman Group prepared a report for Sacramento County stating the estimated annual direct and indirect spending for all parkway goods and services was $364 million and change at that time, probably more now. Since the American River Parkway was intended for all citizens of Sacramento County and beyond to visit and enjoy, SARA has consistently opposed any further building right on the Lower American River. Such access should be kept available for all visitors to experience and enjoy the extensive naturalistic and recreational values available on the American River and Parkway, not to just a few wealthy landowners. Please reject item 19.1. Thank you.
Barbara Dougal? No Barbara. Rudy Smith? Following Rudy will be Sage Pasquale.
Did you say Randy Smith?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
Randy Smith. I'm a resident across the river in the Carmichael area. Been working to protect American River Parkway for many, many decades. I've been here all my life. I just want to express my concerns, as everyone else has ahead of me. I don't want to take any more time, but it doesn't make sense to allow any building in a flood area. I've rented helicopters back in 1996, to record the American River Parkway aerial imagery. And as I've visited this site over the last several years, I was just impressed at the change in elevation from that part of the parcel that is up on Folsom Boulevard, and then that almost like a bluff going down, that sloped bluff where it goes down to that floodplain area above the river, beside the river. And it's impressive to see that change in elevation in that lower area. I was appalled to hear that it was being considered to be able to fill in some of that area to allow for development. Thank you for hearing me.
Next speaker is Sage Pasquale. Following Sage will be Debbie Kashner, Tom Biglion, Barbara Beck, Jody King, and Megan Smith Fajardo.
You guys think it'd be good to take a 5-minute break after this public comment? Need to run to use the restroom.
Is that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for your service to the citizens of Rancho Cordova, the council members and staff. And I ask you to consider some questions. I understand that this isn't a decision on whether development will happen. However, if you do not in fact intend to approve at some point in the future, why are you kicking the can down the road and postponing the inevitable lawsuit? There are many stipulations in the settlement portion that are extremely favorable to TrueMark. If you don't intend to approve TrueMark's entire plan at some point in the future, why does the settlement spend $150,000 in taxpayer funds to help the developer with an EIR? Why does it prepare legislation to change the law so that the plan, or change the plan so that it will suit the developer rather than the developer obeying the law as it stands? Why does the settlement agree to let TrueMark pay an in lieu of fee for parkland deficiency rather than insisting that TrueMark's plans not create such a deficiency in the first place? If you approve this settlement agreement, you are giving way more than an inch. A bully is not going to go away because you make a few concessions. They're going to be emboldened, they're going to come back harder, and they're going to come back harder because you dragged it out even longer. It's time to end it now.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute bathroom break. All right, let's go ahead and start this off. Stacy.
Our next speaker is Debbie Kashner. Debbie, are you in the room? Yes. And then following Debbie will be Tom Biglion, Barbara Beck, Jody King, Megan Smith Vajardo, Dr. Andres Wiley.
My name is Debbie Kashner. I am here to share that I oppose the TrueMark settlement proposal. As part of my family story, my father moved to the West Coast shortly after completing an engineering degree in the Midwest. His first job in LA required him to review home building plans and specifications for the city of LA. He eventually came across a good number of homes that were planned to be sited in an area for designated floodways. Even though he knew that this was obviously an unsafe location for building homes, as a young engineer, he had no power to stop it, as people in higher level city positions gave the okay to ignore the precautions. At some point after these homes were built, flooding did occur, and the city became responsible for the cost of damage and reparations. Now here we are, 60 years later in Rancho Cordova, with people that are in charge considering ignoring floodways in order to allow housing development, specifically on the floodway. As an unfortunate bonus, the entire area full of old growth trees and wildlife habitat will suffer and lose the ability to contribute to a healthy ecosystem. I am not someone with a degree in wildlife or forest conservation, but I imagine that most people who take at least one biology course and one environmental studies course can see all the virtual red flags flying when reading the description of what the Truman Corporation intends to do with their property. Now back to my family story. My father went on to move my family to Rancho Cordova, where we lived in my first home when I was born in 1968. He worked for another 3 decades for Caltrans as a highway safety research engineer, including testing using crash test dummies at the CHP Academy in West Sac. With some of his projects, he had to quote unquote deal with environmental impact reports, which did not make those projects any faster or any easier. Nonetheless, he knew that those testing regulations were in place to create balance between nature and progress. He always said it was still very important to respect the environment at the same time that more highways were being constructed in the Sacramento area. None of you are young engineers. All of you have the power to use your power to oppose this proposal to avoid irreversible harm. Thank you for your attention.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I'm Tom Bilione. I'm an interloper from Midtown Sacramento. So I won't tell you about your city's planning documents, but I will tell you why I moved to Sacramento, and it's the city of trees and a city of rivers. I'm a canoeist. I have enjoyed remarkably living here in the Sacramento area, and in particular, the American River Parkway. I grew up in Clovis, about a half a mile from the San Joaquin River, and coincidentally, the San Joaquin River Parkway. Let me tell you, San Joaquin River Parkway's got nothing, nothing on what we have here. And I've been to other cities. I know you've been through Bakersfield at one time or another, and you can't avoid, as you cross the bridge passing over the Kern River, noticing the light tan color of the sand, because most of the time it's dry. We're so fortunate to have not only a healthy and beautiful parkway, but a healthy and wonderful flow of water through it all the time, even at its lowest. What I want to point out is 100 years ago, or more than 100 years ago, there was a civil engineer in Sacramento that said, as long as you keep the levees a quarter mile out from the river, you'll never have to worry about a flood. About 70 years later, or 50 years later, it seems like everybody forgot that, because I'm sure you've noticed all of the construction work, the bank improvement work going on between the H Street Bridge and the House Street Bridge. Have you not? It's called the Bank Improvement Project, or the Common Features Project, and we've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars improving our levees to keep all of Sacramento safe from flood. Folsom, the federal government, built a new lower spillway at Folsom Dam, again, to help manage floodwaters to protect our environment. I would like to point out, first of all, I've got 40 seconds left. I'd like to point out that every square foot of the American River Parkway is valuable property. We only have 10% left of our riparian habitat. We need to keep and protect, and in this case, it may be private land, but it's still a functioning part of the parkway. We need to protect and preserve every last square foot that we can, not only for flood protection, but for the wildlife and the habitat. Somewhere we have to draw a line in the river loam and say, we're not giving up one more foot. This is it. And I'm asking you, please, stand up and do it. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Barbara Beck, and I moved to Sacramento in 1989, and I fell in love with the American River Parkway, and I bought my first house by Larchmont Park. And after I moved in, my neighbor said, you know, in '86, the river was a foot from the top of that levee over there. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I better buy a boat. And I am sure that had the floodplain, the Cases property floodplain, not been in play at that time, it would have overtopped that levee. And there would have been millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of damage to College Greens and College Greens East. So I echo what everybody else says. Please don't approve this. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jody Sato King, and I'm here to represent three groups of people, well, three groups that have no voice. The first one is my grandpa, John Sato, my dad, George Sato, my uncles, David Sato, and Don Sato. They all moved to Rancho Cordova, brought their families, and spoke highly of Linda over here, by the way, to be at the American River. They, without a doubt, would vote no, would ask you, please do not approve building on this property. The second group is the children. I have this picture I want to show you. This is by a child that is a special needs, and he was asked what he thinks about when he thinks about the American River Parkway. And this is what he drew. And he asks, please do not destroy the trees. Do not destroy the wildlife. All of them matter. And the third group is the wildlife who have no voice. How many of them thrive on each one of these trees? Please do what's right for everybody. Thank you.
Next speaker is Megan Smith Fajardo. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Megan Smith Fajardo. I live in Rosemont, so I am not your constituent, but I am your neighbor. And as your neighbor who lives downstream, I care a lot about what happens to the American River. I'm asking you to reject the tolling and settlement agreement because what happens in the lower basin will impact the communities beyond your boundaries. The river corridor functions as a shared ecosystem and recreation space for residents in Rancho Cordova, Rosemont, and the greater Sacramento area. This project would remove hundreds of mature trees and degrade habitat for more than 160 species of wildlife. This corridor supports birds, mammals, fish, pollinators, and the biodiversity that keeps the river healthy. Once that habitat is lost, we will not get it back. Passing this proposal would benefit a private developer at the expense of the wildlife and the residents who call the American River home. It asks the public to absorb the ecological cost and the safety risks so that TrueMark can turn a profit building on a floodplain that was never meant for residential development. As public servants, you have a responsibility to prioritize the safety of your community over TrueMark's profit margins. Like everyone who spoke before me tonight, I ask you to reject this agreement and protect the lower basin for the residents, the wildlife, the river, and the systems that depend on it. Thank you.
Dr. Andrea Wiley.
Vice Mayor and City Council members, thank you for allowing us to speak. I'm Dr. Andrea Willie. I'm a native of Sacramento, and I'm a newly welcome to the neighborhood of Tiffany Farms. I'm also the founder of the Waterbird Habitat Project, and I spend a lot of time on the lower basin studying the heron rookery that's across the waters, which is easily visible from there and from very few other places. I did submit my comments. And I just want to say I've been truly enlightened by what I've learned tonight from all the other speakers. I'm not sure I will add to that, but I truly hope that you have been as enlightened as I have and that you make the right decision here and reject this settlement and tolling agreement. I strongly oppose the agreement that would allow construction on the designated floodway. I ask you to uphold the city's general plan, the safety element, the Folsom Boulevard plan, and the impact report that have protected this area for decades. Approving this agreement would lead to irreversible loss of wildlife habitat. The lower basin provides essential habitat for hundreds of species of wildlife. Filling and developing the 20-acre floodway would destroy critical open space, it would fragment habitats, and threaten biodiversity in one of our region's vital wildlife corridors. The American River is designated a wild and scenic river, and altering it for private development contradicts decades of conservation efforts, including protections under the general plan and the Folsom Boulevard plan that explicitly exclude this area due to environmental impacts. Developing in a designated floodway is also fundamentally wrong and dangerous. The general plan safety element prohibits construction in high-risk flood zones without extraordinary measures to protect public safety. Filling the lower basin would increase flood risks to adjoining properties, endangering lives and their property. Statements suggesting otherwise are misleading, and they ignore floodplain ordinances by FEMA and the Central Valley Flood Board Protection Board designations. Prioritizing development over safety sets a reckless precedent. This agreement is profoundly unfair to citizens who value and rely on the American River as a shared natural resource. The taxpayers have invested over $2 million in planning documents that safeguard public health, environmental resources, and recreational access. This settlement, the city proposes using additional public funds to help private developers circumvent these protections. This is a betrayal of public trust and fiscal responsibility, favoring developer interests over the community's right to preserved open spaces, hiking easements, and ecological integrity. Citizens deserve equitable access to the river's benefits, not a diminished resource eroded by one-sided corporate agreements.
Please wrap up your comments.
I ask you just to reject the settlement and honor the laws and investment the city has already made. Thank you.
Next speaker is Maggie Gorig, Michelle Pepping, John Brigos, and Barbara Dougal, if she's in the room.
Hello, my name's Maggie Gorig. I live in West Sacramento, and one of my favorite things to do in Sacramento is go to the American River. This past weekend, however, I was in Armstrong Woods, and if you don't know it, it's a state park in Guerneville in Sonoma County. And every time I go there, it's a transformative experience, just the way that any deep nature experience can be. And I'm always struck by how lucky we are that we still have it. And the reason we still have it is because a concerned group of citizens stood up when they heard that it was going to be logged. And they fought back, and they said, no, you have logged everything around this. We're called Stump Town because there's no more trees. And this forest of redwoods is now preserved, and it's 5% of original redwoods in California. And so fast forward to 2025, and we are the concerned citizens. I'm so thankful for that group more than almost 120 years ago. And here we are, and we're doing the same thing. We're pleading with you not to destroy this vital habitat. And somebody else was talking earlier about the things happening in Sacramento, and I've been following the same things. Coyote Creek, it's devastating. Vernal pools and almost 4,000 trees, some of them heritage oaks, being cut down. The project outside the airport with the migratory bird population. And now this, building on a floodplain, which everybody here has said this is a terrible idea. And so I just really urge you to listen to all of us. I haven't heard a single voice in support of this. And for years, we've been telling you not to do this. And so shut it down. Do not vote for this settlement. Just shut it down. And maybe they will back away, and maybe it will turn into a preserve, because that's what that land deserves. And that's what generations in the future deserve. 120 years forward, they're going to be talking about, thank God these people saved this. So please, Thank you.
Michelle Pepping? No? Yes, okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Michelle Pepping, and I am a new resident of Rancho Cordova. My husband and I bought a house along the American River Parkway 2.5 years ago, and it is hard for me to describe in words how living near the parkway has increased our quality of life. It has increased our quality of life, our friends, and everyone that's in our neighborhood just seems so happy. And it's amazing to see the reach and the power of the parkway just by the speakers that have come tonight from far and wide in this greater Sacramento area. It is clear that this agreement, I know this is not the plan, but just the agreement, is expensive and dangerous. And I'm an environmental scientist, but that horse has been beat to death tonight. So I urge you to just protect the safety of me, my family, my home, my neighbors, and use your power to honor the law and honor your constituents. Please deny the agreement, and if that means preparing for a lawsuit, I urge you to please deny and start getting ready so that we can nip this in the bud and you can save your time and all of our time so we don't have to keep going through this. Thank you so much.
John?
Good evening. My name is John Briggs, and I wanted to emphasize one thing, or more than one thing, actually. Trumark knew about the restrictions that were in place at the time it purchased the property. The general plan prohibited floodplain fill. The Folsom Boulevard specific plan excluded development in the lower basin. And there were dam failure considerations. People were worried about the flooding in the event the Folsom Dam failed. Those were all in existence then. So it was assuming the risk. And it turned out it was a bad deal. Now, nobody's really spoken about the structure of this settlement agreement. My question is, where's the settlement? The developer would sue you now if you don't do anything. And if you do something, but you reject the EIR, you disapprove it, it's going to sue you then. So sue me now or sue me later. Where's the settlement? And the structure of the agreement, the so-called settlement agreement, gives the developer substantial control over the process. First of all, it says that the developer and the city have to agree on the EIR consultant, the primary consultant. Therefore, the developer has veto power over the consultant. It's going to seek a consultant that it wants. Secondly, it requires that the city collaborate with the developer's own experts. It also requires that in the event of a dispute arising from these promises, from the settlement agreement, you have to submit the whole thing to binding arbitration. So you've given up your discretion. You're supposed to be the lead agency here. That isn't what's happening. The developer is going to control this. Thank you.
Barbara Dougal, are you in the chambers? No? Okay. In addition to the speakers that we heard this evening, the city clerk's office also received 274 public comments via email. All 274 of those emails were in opposition of item 19.1. Those public comments have been distributed to the city council and they have also been made available to the public.
All right, so let me just see where we're at. Woo!
All right, public comment, check. 4.5 hours. Would you like being able to talk 3 minutes? That's new for us. It was good. All right. So we're going to move on to council comments, but before we do that, I just want to address Adam. Since a couple things off the point. One, I apologize to my citizens how long things take. This kind of process is a long process. I still haven't had a project submitted before us, so it's hard to support or deny something that hasn't come before council, just ideas. So that's one of the tough ones. I know a lot of you guys are like, oh, we got to cancel it. And I'm like, there's nothing here yet. There's just ideas. So, but saying that, can you address the one when it comes to the EIR, which if we know a couple of the groups that have come to us, is the most important thing was, do I EIR, do I EIR, do I EIR, do I EIR? So now we're getting this EIR. So he said that they would be able to deny someone we chose. Are we not paying for it, and would we have that kind of addressed? And then what would come of an EIR?
Sure. A couple comments. These that were brought up by a number of folks, including Mr. Solori. First, the city will be the one contracting for the EIR. The city will be the one that is in charge of preparing the EIR. The city is legally obligated to be in charge of the EIR process. The developer won't be contracting directly with the consultants who do the work. Second, the city will, as it does in any EIR it prepares, have a no project alternative, and it'll have the other required elements for an EIR. So, and I would say, just briefly, there are a lot of comments that have been made that address issues of obvious passion and concern, but that are premature, as the vice mayor said, to what's actually in front of the council. It would be premature to talk about findings for approval or denial of a use permit or other actions that aren't before you at this time on this project, on this matter.
All right. Joe, do you have anything?
No comments from me.
All right. Linda, do you have anything?
Yeah. Yeah, just to confirm that, because those were the first three that stood out. The process of getting the state permits, at what point in the application process would that take place? This is kind of like having to go through all the federal and state regulatory agencies in order to have your project approved.
So let me try and respond to that in hopefully not too much technical jargon here. What I see happening is, if the council approves this agreement, then what will happen is within 90 days, an application will be submitted to the city. That's a reduced alternative density project. And with that, we will start the routing process in conjunction with the EIR. So folks like the Army Corps, State Central Valley Water Control Board, Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency, and perhaps even American River, Lower American River Conservancy will receive both the policy documents and the notice of preparation first. There will be subsequently a draft EIR process. Without knowing the responses, unless we get those responses from those agencies during the EIR process, they won't be able to submit those permits. So it's likely how it happens is they can submit it, but they won't have their final analysis concluded because they're going through the entire process from looking at the engineering standpoint, particularly for those agencies to look at. So even though they can make an application, that doesn't necessarily mean the agency, particularly Central Valley Water Control Board, will be able to issue any kind of conclusion or permit until they get their final analysis.
So thinking about what you just said relative to state planning process, theoretically, we would be supposed to issue them an 884 letter of completion of the application within 30 days. So does that apply when they're going out to get all these permits?
I think what's going to happen is they're going to tell us what they need to have for permits. So I don't know offhand what type of permit they'll need, but I imagine what's going to happen is when we go through a process, Central Valley Flood Control Board and all the other agencies that I mentioned will respond and say, you will need these type of permits.
Okay. And actually, I like the comprehensive nature of the EIR because, for instance, question about the soil itself makes it sound like slickens out in the Anatolias, and that would be an interesting issue to learn about. And then finally, I guess for me, some of the issues that were brought up with the agreement itself. The thing about settlement is a good question, and then the point about arbitration is a good question. How we see this process coming to a conclusion with an application that could actually start going through Planning Commission or City Council, and eliminating those issues, if that makes sense.
Adam, do you want to take the arbitration issue?
The arbitration in general is over disputes involving this agreement. It's not an agreement to arbitrate all the issues about project approval or denial.
Oh, okay. Well, that was simple. I think that's it.
I'm going to go ahead and call the question.
Do you want comments?
Oh, from us? We already did.
Or you want to just see if there's a motion?
Oh, is there a motion?
Then I will move approval of the tolling agreement.
Excellent. Roll call.
I need a second.
Oh, second.
Are you the second?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start with Councilmember Budge.
My answer is yes, and I should say, because frankly, this is an agreement to delay. Somebody asked me early on to define the word toll, and that's what I told her. This is an agreement to delay and to give time for the investigation process to go forward.
Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Yes.
Councilmember Little.
Nope.
Councilmember Sander and Mayor Pulapati are absent. The motion passes with, sorry.
The motion fails with a 2-1 vote. This is an item that requires a majority of the full council to pass.
So let's go ahead and push it till next December.
So I will move that we continue this project to the 15th of December meeting.
Do you want to do a date certain, or do you just want to continue to a meeting of, predetermined future conversation? So we can't do it to a particular date. Oh. Well, I guess that, the question is kind of, is the, there was a vote taken, it didn't pass. So I think it's really a question of, is there a
motion to re-agendize
correct
this when you'll have a full council.
Correct.
Can you say that again?
So
He wants to know if there's a motion to re-agendize with everyone here.
Except that I think on the 15th, we only have, well, there's not ever going to be everyone because David is
Correct.
conflicted.
Correct. So
It's his neighborhood.
right, so it'd have to
So-
be 4.
So I think you can say a date certain, like the 15th would be an alternative. I think we expect to have everybody for that date.
Okay. Then I'll make that motion.
Second. Roll call.
So the motion is to agendize this for December 15th.
No, do you want a time uncertain, or you want to put on the December 15th?
I think the motion was December 15th.
Yeah.
Okay, December 15th.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilmember Budge and a second from Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Yep.
And Councilmember Little? Councilmember Little is a no. Mayor Pulapati is absent, and Councilmember Sander is also absent. Adam, does that pass?
No.
The motion to have it be considered by two council members, yes.
Yes, that passes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. 2 votes yes. Councilmember Little, no.
All right, let's move on to the next one, which is future agenda items. And I'm going to go ahead and close this meeting, adjourn this meeting in the name of Rosa Parks. Meeting adjourned.